President, thank you so much for joining us on this special day, in a way, for the European Union. You've said, finally, you've got this mother of all trade deals. What does that mean?
Well, that means that we are creating a market for 2 billion people. It's the largest trade agreement ever signed by the European Union or India.
And of course, that means that you expect trade to now almost practically double. And you also say tariffs will come down almost to 96% of all European exports. When do you hope to see this agreement implemented?
As soon as possible. And this is very important for both European and Indian economy, but also for the global economy, because together we represent a quarter of the world GDP. That means that if we boost our economies, we are boosting the global economy.
And we saw in the 72 hours that we were here, the Indian authorities and the Prime Minister, Modi, he really rolled out the red carpet for you, for the head of the commission. You were at this military parade. I wonder if you could just give us a behind the scenes of how this trip felt for you.
Bon, this trip have two parts. The first of all, very nice, very kindly, and it was the President von der Leyen and me. We are the chief guests of the celebration of the Republic Day, the great celebration of India, and we had present in this huge parade when the India shows not only their military capabilities but also their cultural diversity and the skills and the talent of their people on culture. And the second part was the summit, where we approved not only the free and trade agreement, but also we signed a security and defense partnership and the joint strategic agenda for the next 5 years. And this shows that it's possible in this very uncertain world that provide predictability when reliable partners agree on trade, on security, on defense, on people-to-people contact.
And is that your message ultimately with this trade deal? You say it's the mother of all trade deals in a market that was very heavily protected. But I wonder if the real value is sort of the optics around it, is to send this message that when there's tariffs all over the place, that's the value of a moment like this.
No, they have a great value from the economic point of view. But perhaps more important is the message that the two largest democracies in the world are sending to the international community. Is that it's important, it's essential to provide predictability, to engage on cooperation instead of confrontation, and that reliable partners can work for good in the world.
So you don't believe this is the end of the multilateral trade system? Many think after the Trumps or the tariffs before President Trump, it's the end.
It's a very important way to underpin the multilateral system. We are living not in the world of blocks, but in the multipolar world. And in this multipolar world, we need to do three things. First, underpin the multilateral system. Second, uphold the international law. And finally, engage bilaterally with the different poles in the world. That's the reason because last week we signed the trade agreement with Mercosur. Now we signed the trade agreement with India, and we continue to work in new trade agreements and new partnerships with the different subjects, with different partners around the world.
And of course, President, you're a very experienced politician, and I know you're going to say you don't like to engage in hypotheticals, just reality. But
then if you know, you don't need to ask me.
But this is where I got to ask. Do you believe, do you get a sense really, in real terms, would we be here today in New Delhi with this agreement on the table, the Mercosur done also in the past month, if President Trump had not been elected and put forward this very aggressive tariff policy?
Well, we started these negotiations a lot of years ago. But of course, when you are living in the unpredictable world, you need to provide predictability to the business, to invest, to produce, to trade, and to give hope and security for the citizens.
And the Indian minister told us that there was no mention of President Trump, that this was really a bilateral summit between the two. Is that the case? You really did not talk about President Trump for 2 days?
But you don't think that Europe and India are big enough to focus on ourselves. Yes, this summit, it is about India, is about the European Union and nothing else.
And nothing else. So there was no mention of President Trump. Do you wonder or fear any form of retaliation as you cut more deals from the U.S. in any way?
But why?
They shouldn't. It's not a threat to them.
No, we fixed a trade agreement with the United States. It's now in the European Parliament to be approved. And we are diversifying our trade relationships. And of course, when the WTO is not working very well, and when several economic global agents are disturbing the global trade, we need to stabilize the trade relationship by trade agreements. And is what we are doing. And I think it's very important, not only for Europe, but also for the global economy.
And I want to pick up a moment in the press conference in which you showed a passport. And I was watching the Indian television, and this moment was really shown with the document, and you mentioned in your origins, this really went down well. I wonder, however, is that part of a strategy to say, while some other countries, namely the United States, talk about weakness and decaying countries and civilization erasure, perhaps when you're nice, it pays off, it's better?
No, we have a vision again that in this multipolar world, we need to engage with the different countries, with different culture, with different language, with different traditions. Last year, I co-share with President von der Leyen more than, I think, 11 summits around the world with the African Union, with the Community of Latin America and Caribbean, with the Central Asia countries, with China, with Japan, with South Africa, with the Western Balkans, with around the world. And is our way of life in the world, is engaging with partners and to build reliable relationships.
And would you say, however, don't mistake politeness for weakness? Some who look at this very polite European Union, it means it's also a weak European Union. Would you say, don't make that because that would be a mistake?
Yes, I don't enter in this game of words. We focus on the reality. And our reality is very simple. We are one of the largest economies in the world, one of the largest democracies in the world, and we have a lot of friends around the world. Friends, partners, allies, and we work with everybody.
And do you get an impression that now these friends and allies across the world are reaching out to you, or is it the European Union reaching out to them because now you really need them? Is it mutual, or is there also an understanding that they want the European Union?
I think everybody understood that both the North and the South are more plural than was perceived some years ago. And everybody is understanding that we need to engage with each other to have a peaceful, stable world on peace and security, but also on economy.
And on the security now, of course, with India and the European Union, that's the elephant in the room. There's been the sticking point of the war in Ukraine. The EU has said multiple times that they would like to see India use a form of leverage on Russia and have more meaningful language condemning the war. Was that an issue during your visit here? Did you bring that up and say, you need to help us put an end to this?
No, we talk, of course, about Ukraine and the war in Ukraine with Prime Minister Modi. But as I said in my press conference, I believe that we can count on Prime Minister Modi.
You believe that?
Yes, I believe that we can count on Prime Minister Modi to push for peace through dialogue and diplomacy.
And I just want to finally on this point, Greenland, obviously last week was a very tense moment for the European Union. The United States backed off ultimately. There were no tariffs. What's the lesson that you take away from it? And do you believe this crisis really is over now?
I hope so.
And was that a lesson, however, in when you're firm, they will back off?
No, I think the main lesson is everybody is concerned about the security of the Arctic region. And the best way to address this is on NATO frame and working with the different Arctic countries to ensure a safe and security Arctic.
And President, I wonder if you could confirm to us, there is now talk that in the retreat that you have called for leaders to have a debate in February, so very soon, Mario Draghi will participate. Is that going to be the case?
Last year, we start the year in February organizing a retreat on defense. And I invited the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, and also the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Keir Starmer. And it was the pivotal moment to improve and focus on our own agenda on security and defense and strengthen our relationship with NATO and the UK. This year, we need to do on competitiveness and on our single market what we have done last year on security and defense. That's why I invited Mario Draghi and Enrico Letta to be present in the European Council, to debate on us, to take stock of what we have already done, which their reports, and what we need to do to accelerate and to deliver, to boost competitiveness and to deep and strengthen our single market.
And that's my last question. What do you hope to achieve? Because you talk about the retreat that happened last year that kickstarted the sequence on defense. Do you worry, and is that the reason why you want Mario Draghi and Letta to be in the meeting, that this report is not being implemented fast enough? Are you concerned?
What I expect from the leaders is that they give a clear political guidance to the Commission, to the Council, as they have done last year on security and defense. And this year, on the single market and on competitiveness, we need to create a new momentum to give new impetus on this agenda. As you know, we have invested a lot on simplification, but we need to do much more to deliver and to boost effectively on competitiveness and in our single market. And if you want to underpin our effort on security and defense, we need to have a strong economic base.
So it's a package, and that will be the goal for 2026.
Yes.
Well, President, thank you so much for your time and for joining us.